Hello guys, and welcome in this new recording. Today I would like to talk a little bit about Kivy and KivyMD. In case you don't know exactly what this is, Kivy is actually a framework that you can use in Python to target different platforms. So it sounds very interesting, said like that, because it's also targeting Android or iOS, for instance. And this is in fact the main reason why I started to look into this, because the basic idea I have is I need to build a very minimal Android application, which is a little tool I'm going to use at home here. Which I call actually home control, because this is a simple interface to allow me to access some of the devices that I have at home and monitor some temperature and stuff like that. So I wanted to build a very minimal Android application to go on my Android phone, which is Redmi Note 9 as far as I know. So I already had a similar application before, and until now I was using the Ionic framework to build this application. Ionic is another framework again, but this one is not using Python. You have to write code in TypeScript, and it's basically kind of building a web application that is going to run in a small, well, native container application with a WebKit interface in there, something like that at least. It worked very well, in fact. I could use this application for a few years, but point is, now I need to rebuild this stuff. And I absolutely don't want to go on this path, because in the process to build this application, you have to install Android Studio, Gradle, you have to build your project from the IDE, and so you have user interface interaction, stuff like that. That is something yeah, that is less and less for me. I don't want that. I want to be able to build everything I want from a script and a command line, and I don't want to have anything to do with interfaces and or IDE to build my tools. So yeah, using Android Studio is a big no for me. I know many people will say I'm crazy, maybe. Using Java also is kind of a big no for me. I don't want to. I never really liked Java, and I don't want to spend more time that I need with this language. For me, everything should be written in C++ anyway, if you ask me. Python was an acceptable workaround from that perspective. So yeah, that's why I decided to dive into this, and I have thus written a small article about that. So we're going to go through this article. If you don't have time to look at this recording in details, the TLDR is Kivy is crap. You don't want to use it. So, but anyway, let's try to see what I did to get this on rails. So basically, it's a Python application. Oh, I mean a Python package. You need a Python environment. So I started with building a simple environment and installing Kivy, and then yes, this was a tutorial that I used, which felt like, wow, that's cool, great, let's go. And it's providing some details on how you can build a very minimal Kivy application. You start with this hello world. So first, yeah, you prepare an environment. That's what I'm doing with my custom mechanism. Then you have this simple hello world application. Super easy to write. You build an application. You have this build function, just preparing a label here, and you return that, which is the content of whatever you want to have inside the application, and you run that. So this is working just fine. That's the kind of display you would get if you run the application directly on Windows. In my case, I don't think I still have that available. Let me try to find the folder when I placed this. Yeah, this is it. So this one was a bit more evolved already. Yeah, I don't mind those username and password. The only server that can understand anything about this is local, so no way you could forward that. And yeah, I'll change that anyway. But still, what was the point here? The build function here is a bit more evolved already. And so I was experimenting a few stuff, and that's not the latest version I have. I have this main version here. Okay, let's just stick to the blog article, I guess. So when you run that, I prepared a small script to start this thing using this environment that I provided initially, and you just run your main, and that's what you get as a display. Next main interest I had, as I said, was to try to build this for Android. So I moved directly to trying to build this application on Android, so not really taking into consideration the other example here where you want to display a simple image. Yeah, when you do some experiment on the layout, stuff like that, adding events, that's also something I did afterwards. The Kivy language, that's also something I tried to not use first. And then, yeah, basically I was moving to this part, building for Android. So I added this buildozer package. So I add that in my configs here. So I added this one, and then you need to initialize your project, and it's going to prepare this buildozer spec file for you. And then you can start tweaking a bit the settings that you have here. And for instance, I changed the title, the package name, organization name you want to change also. And what else? Everything that you see here is commented, so not really using default values. I changed the version, and then I was also, yeah, eventually trying to, well, test with different requirements here. First time I tried to build that on Android, I was using Python 3.10 as far as I remember. So you set up the details you want in there, and then that's the command you would use to do the building, which is amazing. That's great. You just have a single command, a single configuration file, and it's going to download for you the Android SDK, NDK, whatever, everything you need, Gradle, and it's going to build your application from the command line. Exactly what I wanted. I didn't want to have to use any kind of IDE, but then if you have all the tools and they are installed automatically and all, that's great. Well, it's not really working out of the box for me because on my Linux server I also had to install Java because this one is expected to be actually installed on the system. So yeah, I think that's also what I'm mentioning here in my small article. Oh yeah, another thing first. Doesn't work on Windows. Yeah, great. I was a bit well, disappointed with that already. I don't. Yeah, usually I'm trying to work for Windows from Windows if I can, but I said okay. I tried anyway to try to run this buildozer thing on Windows. Didn't work, so I decided to basically prepare all my stuff here on my Windows computer, and then commit that on my GitLab repository, and then check everything out on my Linux computer. So that's working just as well, a bit more slowly maybe. Okay, what's next? So I did the init to prepare the config file. Then I was trying this command to do the building. This was on Windows, and that was not working. So moving to Linux, and also I have in the process installed this mobile extern, which I actually really recommend to anyone who wants to do, well, SSH session management for multiple computers or even for single local computer or stuff like that, because it's really cool, nice, and looking very good. So I started to use that, and I like it a lot. And from that point, yes, I had to add Citon in the environment, on Linux at least. But I just updated the environment from both Windows and Linux sides. Then you need Java compiler, because you get another error. So at first I tried to search only for Java, and I thought, okay, let's go and install one of those GRE, and I went with the version 11 because, I don't know, it's another kind of thumb rule on my side. I don't want to go with very high new versions, but in fact I was thinking maybe that could also be the reason why everything is not working here. I guess that will be something else. I should try to uninstall the version 11 that I installed and try to use the latest version maybe, but I really don't think that's going to change anything, because the application is compiling. The Java part is not complaining at all. It's more, I believe, in the Python bindings and stuff, very low level, that I have a problem currently. Anyway, try that, install the GRE version 11, and of course you get Java, but you don't get the Java compiler this way, because the compiler is in the GDK. So then I also installed the GDK, and after that it should start building, if you ever try something like that. It's going to install, you know, the Android SDK, NDK, and I don't know what else. Some of those tools in a common folder here, and everything that is specific to your current project is going to be installed in the folder where you have your project, in a sub point buildozer folder anyway. So that's in fact what I could show here. If we go into the app folder for control client, you will see I have this point buildozer, and one thing I could demonstrate now is actually what the build process will look like if you already have at least all the other big dependencies. So let's try to just remove this buildozer folder completely. And now I want to do the build again. I have in fact written all the build steps in this file, the build Android sh, so I can show you that. So this is my specific stuff, let's say. Then you're going to try to run the buildozer command to build for Android, and currently it's set to debug mode. Before that, I was actually mainly trying with a release. Did I mention? Yes, I mentioned the command already here. So I have only tried with release so far, but just before starting the recording for this, this session, I thought maybe I should also try with debug in case that would change something with the final result on the phone. So I'm going to give it a try with debug. No, it's here. Then, so when you're done building this, the problem here is it's going to generate an unsigned APK. Oh, also by default, it's not going to generate an APK, it's going to generate an AAB file, which is a new kind of file you're supposed to generate on Android. I didn't know that actually, I just learned in this context. But installing an ABB file, I don't know if it's possible on any kind of Android phone, but at least on mine, it's not. The file type is not recognized or anything, so I can't do anything with that. I think you can download some tools from the Play Store to do this kind of installation, but you can also update your configuration in buildozer, and from there you can find APK, yeah, release artifact. Oops, debug artifact. If I'm setting everything to debug, I probably should also what the file again? Just ensure that I'm going to generate an APK. Where was that? Android. That's it. So debug artifact. Whoops. Let's ensure that we set that to APK also. Okay, what's next? So yeah, I'm going to try to run the script. Debug mode, so it's going to build an unsigned version, and then you have to sign this APK manually. So that's why I have this jar signer command here, and eventually I'm going to move this would be signed now, so I'm going to move that in another location where I store those packages, and I can then easily access this location from my phone, and I would rename that to signed version in this case. So yeah, running only the buildozer command is not all you need. You also need to do this signing part, at least if you're building an APK. I'm not sure this would apply for an AAB file. That doesn't seem to be the case, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, let's start this and see what we get. Let's just call build. You don't have X, so yeah, since I remove everything, it's going to take a little bit of time, so I'm going to pause this recording eventually. But while it's downloading and setting everything up, we can still maybe try to move a bit forward in the discussion on the article itself. So there is a lot going on apparently when you do this building with a buildozer. It's downloading many Python packages, but also lower level libraries like SDL. What else do we have? I've seen SDL mainly. Yeah, there are others, but I can't remember exactly. And it's going to build those as C++ library, I guess, with the Android NDK, and you can then access. Oh, of course, it's also going to download Python and build Python for you. This Python for Android package. In fact, it's kind of handling a dedicated Python host on Android, which is running on Android, and this is going to use, I guess, some kind of foreign function interface, because I've seen there's this libffi also, which is built and compiled, and it's going to use that to access SDL or other cat SDL or other C++ libraries, which are shared libraries in this case, so SO files. Yeah, TTF, mixer, image, it's going to build OpenSSL, libjpeg, libpng, a few stuff like that, and Python. So when I first seen that, I was very impressed and thinking, wow, that's cool, it's doing a lot of stuff. Was not really feeling up to this first error. But again, so this undefined macro here was really because I didn't have libtool installed on my compilation computer, or the Linux computer. But you just need to install that. I think only the libtool bin is needed. This one might not be really relevant here, but just install both of them just in case. And that's in fact where I first got my AAB file, the first one, and then I decided, okay, let's try to change that to APK, and I got the first APK. But yeah, Android was refusing to install. I tried, I was not sure, but it didn't work because it was not signed. This was really in the file name anyway. I should have guessed. I searched further and found that you need to generate your key store, which is in fact something I already knew, because when I was building my first version of the application with Android Studio and Gradle and all, at some point you have to provide a key store in the Android Studio configuration, and you have to request to take the signing step into account when you build your APK. So that's another thing that, yeah, is requiring interacting with the interface, specifying what kind of key store file you want to use, blah blah blah. Not what I want. Anyway, when you're done and you have a key store file, you can use that to sign the file. And it's at this point that I introduced this script file to do those 3 steps together. So building with buildozer, then signing, and then moving that in the target folder where I can retrieve the APK file. And I think, yeah, at this point I must have tried to run the application. Yes, already before preparing the script, I tried that, and it was working. That was great. It was basically the same thing as this example that I mentioned. So fully black screen and hello from Kivy just in the middle, and it was displaying correctly on my phone. I had this label in the middle, white on black. So from there you would think, yeah, great, it's going to work just fine. Just go full speed in there and add all the elements that you want to add. And yeah, that's what I tried to do. So I have, yes, to automate even further the usage of the script, I prepared another script command here. This one, first it was only calling buildozer, but now it's just executing this bash script to perform all the required steps. Next, figure out how to change the application icon, yeah, because that's the icon that will appear on your screen when you do the installation for the application. It's not working on Windows directly, which makes sense because this is specified in the buildozer spec file, so Windows is not even aware about this, I guess. But you probably have another way anyway with Kivy to specify what should be the icon for your main window here when you run on Windows. And then things started to get a bit more dirty because I was trying to use the layouts, everything concerning the layouts in Kivy. You have box layout, control layout, you have a lot of them like that, but really at first I was really only trying to play with box layouts because that's what I would do normally if I was working with a Qt, for instance. You would, with box layouts, you could really expect to create any kind of layout because you can add spacers horizontally, vertically, and you can place your widgets however you want this way. But with Kivy, no, that didn't work, which was a pretty bad first impression at this level. I tried, the idea was this, try to place this button here in the middle of actually a row here, which is approximately this size. So you have some space above and the same space below the button, and on the left and the right you have the same space again. To do that, I'm building a horizontal layout. First I had a widget with the size hint set to 1 for the wedge, and then I had another widget here for my button, and then another widget with again size hint which set to 1. So those two widgets here are supposed to grow and take the space. So yeah, you get your button in the middle. But if I was only using that, my button itself would be at the bottom of the row. Remember, there is some space here which is the same as the space above here, so the bottom of the row is somewhere here. So the button was at the button was at the bottom. And I thought, yeah, I mean, it's probably easy to request to center your widget vertically when you're placing that widget in a row. No way. I mean, I could not find how to do that. I tried a few different stuff. Nothing is really working. Then my other idea was, okay, if you want, let's just say instead of placing the widget directly here as a second element, I'm going to place another box layout, a vertical box layout this time. And again, in this vertical box layout, I will first add a dummy widget, which is going to be expanding spacer, vertical spacer if you want. Then my actual button, and under that again another spacer. If I take this and I place that as a second column here in my row, I would expect to have the button centered in this column, and also then the full column centered in the row. No, the size of the row is then not taking the size of the button itself into consideration. And basically, no, the button was not centered. It was always... Come on. It was always... yeah, move a little bit on the left because the column here was smaller than the actual button, and the button was getting outside of the column on the right. So not good. Eventually found this Anchor layout, and this one is working, yeah, partially. On Windows it's working fine. You get this kind of display, and if I go and stretch this this window, it's going to move the button properly. I was requesting to place a button with an Anchor layout, which is replacing the complete box layout I used to create the row. And if you use center, then it's working fine. I guess at this point, maybe I could show you which version would that be. If I do MVP, yeah, that's not exactly the version I'm talking about, but we still have this activate button here, and the space above and below. And I guess I can show you this on the home definition page here. It's actually some kind of MD screen. MD screen here is something coming from KivyMD, which I have not really mentioned yet, so maybe I should go a bit faster than that. Anyway, when you have this Anchor layout. Yes, I have a vertical layout, and I specify that I want center, and I fix the height of this layout, and then I can put a button in the center of this, and then the layout itself here is a box layout, vertical one. So I had this Anchor layout, and then I had another box layout to fill the space underneath. And this is matching the display that you get here. So some space above, below, because here we have 100 pixels, I guess. But I tried then to compile this application on for Android, and this is the result I get. Not so clear, I guess, but you see this kind of blue button just touching the yellow navigation bar, so the space above in the Anchor layout is not respected anymore. And on top of that, here on Windows, when I click on this button, I have some action occurring, and you have also this toast message displayed, gate activated. And same thing here, I was experimenting with the navigation window. I had an even ending for this button. If I click on that, you get this made press toast button, toast. But on my phone, you can click as much as you want. Nothing is happening, and nothing is ever going to display. This button is not reacting at all. Well, I have a hard time placing my hand. So trust me, it's not working, not responding. I can display the menu, so if I click on the small menu icon, oops. No. Oh, yeah, now it is. I mean, why is it so unreactive? Wait a second, which make me think. Oh, I've tried that, right? You know what? Maybe it's a problem with accessing the data. It could be worth. I mean, it is not really, because for the navigation inbox button, this one, there's really nothing happening except displaying a toast. So at least this one should work. But no toast either. So yeah, on Windows the display is correct, but then okay, it's still building here. But then when I try on my phone, it's completely messed up and not working. But I didn't really realize that at first, because I was not really trying to run that on the phone at this point. And I first discovered this KivyMD, which is for material design, which is amazing. It looks super cool because it's providing you with more advanced buttons and widgets and everything to make your application look more native in your phone, I guess. And yeah, I decided to move to this one directly because otherwise you would need to specify the style and the color of your buttons and everything manually, which is a bit of a pain when you start really just with Kivy itself. So yeah, you need to add KivyMD then in your environment. Then you build your application differently. So again, I try a very minimal application, and this is in fact the package where you get access to the toast, for instance, because this is not available out of the box in Kivy, for instance. So that was also one of the reasons why I tried to use it, because I like those toast messages. So everything was nice. So yeah, at this point everything was going really sideways. And I was already considering giving up, and I eventually found this example with the navigation drawer, and this one surprisingly was working. It felt like it was working both on Windows and on the Android phone, because I tried this implementation from above here and I could see the buttons, I could click on them. So I was really expecting that yeah, this was a good one now, and maybe I was doing something wrong first, but now it was fixed in this version. But no, when I start adding more stuff for the buttons that I really want to have and the action that I want to perform, back to square one, everything is freezing on the phone and not working. Then I thought maybe it's because of the version of Python that I'm using, so I tried to move to Python 3.7. I could not get this one to compile 3.7.8, but with 3.7.9 it did compile. And let's see, where are we? That's another thing, it's compiling, but you have stuff like that. Errors. So another error here, Android, blah blah blah. So not really good. I could really explain why it's just not working, in fact. Kivy first build failed, as expected. Really? So, I don't know. Not really my cup of tea. Anyway, from there, I decided that it was basically time to give up, and I think that's where we are. I guess I can give it a few more tries with yeah, debug version of the application here. Maybe also try to upgrade the GDK, but I have very little hope. And to me, the problem is here, this compilation process here, that's a bit too unprecise. There's something I think is going wrong here. It could also be specific to my phone, because I don't really have an Android in there, if you think about it. Since this is the Redmi Note 9, you have this custom OS, which is in MI UI. I think this is based on Android, but it's not exactly Android. That could also explain why it's not working here. But I need this application to work on my phone, so don't have much choice. Anyway, can I show you this? Yeah, it's almost done. I remember this part. Now it's packaging stuff. Then it's going to do the signing. Well, once Gradle is started. So let's pause for a few seconds or minutes, I don't know, and we'll see. Oh, okay. Actually, it's done here, but it just created this file, debug apk, not signed or unsigned, and I was expecting this to be debug unsigned. So, not quite working. Let's just modify quickly the build script here. If I remove this unsigned part, and if I run that again, no, oh, come on. Yes, recording. Okay. I guess that doesn't really work for debug version then. Because when I use the release version, it's working fine. Okay, that's a pain. Long story short, that's not going to work for me, which is a pity, because Kivy and KivyMD looks like very nice framework, and it seems you can build very nice interfaces with that. But not in my case. Ta-da! Anyway, thanks for watching, and if you think about any kind of framework that I could use to do this kind of build, yeah, please let me know. And otherwise, I keep searching for an appropriate solution, I guess. Thank you. Bye-bye.